Marco Rubio has sent a blunt warning to the American people in the lead up to the midterm elections, whilst taking a hilarious jab at the Democrats.
No, they would also take over our election system. They pretty much said they want to do that. Val Demings says she also wants the federal government to potentially take over our property insurance, which is, you can just imagine. Maybe that's what the 87,000 IRS agents will do, is run the insurance company. But I mean, the list goes on of the parade of horribles of things they would do. Look, if they were in power, I'm convinced of this now. If they had a filibuster, no filibuster, whatever, and they had been in charge during the COVID, they would have locked down the country. They would have done to the country what they did to New York, what they did to California, what they did to Illinois. That's what they would have done. In fact, Val Demings has said as much, and I think both Demings and Christ are on record as late as I think last summer asking for another shutdown in this state. They would have spent $4 trillion. They tried to, and even in their infrastructure bill, they brag about only a quarter of that money went to infrastructure. The rest of it went to take on very serious problems like, racist roads and discriminatory trees and whatever else they can think of. And so, look, I'm sorry. I hate to say this about my fellow Americans. These people are out of their minds, and they cannot be allowed to be near power.
And despite the midterms being over 10 months away, the Republicans are treating this year as an election year, announcing that Trump will be going on a midterms campaign.
The GOP is reportedly planning to hold a midterm convention ahead of elections coming up later this year. Here's more.
The Republican Party aims to deploy all its resources nationwide, hoping to fire up Americans behind the GOP. On Friday, the RNC voted to move forward with its plans to launch a midterm convention, which experts point out is an unusual event for midterm elections. But Republicans seem to be approaching November's elections with an all-hands-on-deck approach, hoping to reverse the historic trend of the party that controls the White House getting a shellacking in the midterms.
Chief of Staff Susie Wiles also confirmed this late last year.
He's going to have a fun next year, but we're going to put him on the campaign trail too. Typically, just a little bit of campaign speak, if I may.
Yeah.
Typically, in the midterms, it's not about who's sitting at the White House. It's you localize the election.
Right.
And you keep the federal officials out of it. We're actually going to turn that on its head.
Good.
And put him on the ballot, because so many of those low propensity voters are Trump voters.
Yes, they are.
And we saw a week ago Tuesday what happens when he's not on the ballot and not active. So I haven't quite broken it to him yet, but he's going to campaign like it's 2024 again.
Oh.
For all these people that he helps. He doesn't help everybody, but for those he does, he's a difference maker, and he's certainly a turnout machine. So the midterms will be very important to us. He'll work very hard to keep the majority.
Yeah, we can't afford to have this stalled.
And Trump's campaign tour may well be needed after his polling numbers show a struggling administration following months of tensions exacerbated by chaos in Minneapolis involving ICE. Trump is appearing to attempt to simmer down the chaotic situation. Posting on Truth Social, Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. I told Governor Walz that I would have Tom Homan call him, and that what we are looking for are any and all criminals that they have in their possession. The governor very respectfully understood that, and I will be speaking to him in the near future. He will be happy that Tom Homan was going to Minnesota, and so am I. But this commentator isn't buying it, saying Trump saw the polls and now he wants out. He knows he's lost his signature issue. What an absolute buffoon. Walz should push back and start making demands. Political consultant Ari Fleischer says Republicans must focus on the economy over the next 6 months to have a shot at winning the midterms.
Wages will rise, the economy will feel strong, and then by June, this is all going to turn around if we have 6 months of really good reporting. That's what makes families feel better. It's always about the economy. The last thing I would just quickly say is 150 million people voted in the presidential election, only 100 million in the midterm congressional. It's vital that President Trump nationalizes this midterm election. This is people's chance to make a down payment on keeping the White House in 2028 and keeping the Trump legacy alive. They've got to show up at the polls in 26 to make that down payment.